Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel, As Above So Below. Today I want to talk about a very profound subject, and that is a spiritual awakening. This subject has many layers and nuances attached to it, so sit back and relax and let's go down the rabbit hole on this amazing subject.
What is a spiritual awakening? Before I start, what I will be discussing is from my experience, and the experience of a spiritual awakening will vary from person to person. From my experience, a spiritual awakening is an occurrence that happens when something that was once dormant within our being suddenly begins to stir and awaken. At first, we don't understand why or how this occurrence has happened. There are many catalysts that can bring about a spiritual awakening. The best way I can describe this is that a switch has been flipped inside of us and has activated something. It is through this that we have our perception of our own reality altered, and moments of clarity begin to hit our conscious mind. This is the subconscious mind linking up to our conscious mind as they begin to work together. The moment of a spiritual awakening can bring about many different occurrences that can be described as synchronicities. Synchronicities are manifestations in our reality that are linked to our spiritual awakening. These synchronicities arrive in many different ways, from vivid dreams, deja vu, messages, both audio and visual. The list goes on. Synchronicities can be mind-blowing, as they appear in our reality that shows us what is needed to be done as we walk our chosen path, which is in flow with the energies of nature and the cosmos. How to recognize you're having a spiritual awakening. When I had my first spiritual awakening, I remember that it had manifested at a pretty low point in my life when I was in between work after quitting a good job. At that time, I was heavily involved in the rave scene of the mid to late 1990s, and that involved lots of recreational drug use. I managed to get a part-time job in retail, and I felt like my world had crumbled, as the lifestyle once had no longer existed. My decision to change this brought an air of alienation, paranoia, self-doubt and regret, as people around me could not understand why I made such a decision. At that time, I had no answers myself, only that it was done for a reason. Working at my part-time job, I was 23 at the time, and I worked with a woman who was around 19, who also was part-time. We got to know each other and began dating. She introduced me to martial arts, and that is when I realised the reason why I had made the decision to change my life. Thus, I began my journey into martial arts that went on for a further 15 years. From that example I gave you, my spiritual awakening was an indication that I should change my lifestyle and try to become a better person, to become more healthy and more balanced. From that time on, I began to study many things as I undertook my martial arts journey that were opening my mind and helping it to gain clarity, and in turn this allowed me to experience my own energy flow within my body. A spiritual awakening can bring about many physical, mental, emotional and spiritual changes. At first, these changes can be confusing, and we are searching for answers, and we begin the quest of wanting to know ourselves on a more deeper and profound level. As stated earlier, spiritual awakenings vary from person to person. The occurrence of this can happen at any time during the course of your life. It can happen from a very young age, early teens, through to middle age and towards our twilight years of old age. Regardless of when it occurs, embrace it and be receptive, as this is a beautiful journey of self-discovery. In a spiritual awakening, a person's perception is altered, like a shroud that was once covering our eyes has now been lifted. The eyes are the windows to the soul, as the saying goes. What we perceive in our reality are things that may no longer resonate with us, and we strive to find things that do resonate with us. Our quest of self-discovery leads us to begin our spiritual journey. It is upon this journey we find the path we are going to choose to walk, and what we will undertake to encourage spiritual growth. To summarize, a spiritual awakening is an introduction into the path we should walk, and as time moves on, we are drawn to certain spiritual practices to further our spiritual evolution. One occurrence that is a result of a spiritual awakening is that we are able to tap into our higher intelligent self, or our higher self. This is a portion of our being that can guide us and help us understand the synchronicities we are experiencing from the result of a spiritual awakening. The higher self is the image of how we want to evolve spiritually, is one way of looking at it. Through various spiritual practices like meditation and energy building exercises like Qigong, we connect to our higher self. Performing this action raises the vibration of energy for both physically and spiritually that lead to a well-balanced being of mind, body and soul. What happens after a person has had a spiritual awakening? Again, I am basing my answer from some of my experiences. After a spiritual awakening, I can only describe it as having a hunger-struck thirst for knowledge and searching for answers to questions I had as to why I was experiencing certain things in my reality. Through becoming familiar with my highest self, I was guided to learn things that would help me on my journey. Learning about how my body works on a physical and energetic level and how to balance this. Balance of the being was one of the first things I learned. To make my body strong and healthy so the energy I would begin to cultivate would flow freely. Studying things that were relevant to this time of my life, such as Feng Shui, which taught me how energy moved in the natural world and in my home, and how to tap into the beneficial energy that would help me further on down the line. When a person starts out on a quest of self-discovery, the amount of knowledge and information available about spiritual practices and spirituality is overwhelming, and one could be confused in which direction their spiritual journey should take. It is at this state of confusion that our higher self will guide us to the best options of spiritual practices that will serve us well. When reaching these confusing states, it is best to walk away and try to calm the mind through relaxation and, if possible, meditation. In these calm and relaxed states, we can connect to our higher self and a solution will be presented to us in how we should proceed. It isn't uncommon for a synchronicity to be experienced a day or a few days after contemplating and for it to manifest in our reality. The manifestations of the synchronicities subconsciously inspire us to take the physical steps needed to encourage further spiritual growth. The resonation of certain spiritual practices not only comes from our higher self, but also from our intuition that is a part of our being that tells us that something will either serve us or not serve us. Our intuition is our best ally and will always have our backs. It has unconditional love for us, and regardless if it's sometimes ignored, it will continue to serve us in the best ways possible. As a person develops and grows spiritually, they may come to a plateau and feel that they have learned what they needed to for the time being. This does not mean that the learning has stopped. It just means that the person is ready for a download and an upgrade, which will result in another spiritual awakening. What are the types of things that manifest from a spiritual awakening? As stated earlier, a plethora of things can manifest as a result of a spiritual awakening. In my experience of a spiritual awakening, I began to question everything about myself. Such questions of why am I here and what is my purpose? Do I really know myself as well as I think I do? I had questions about my reality and the things I was perceiving. I would be questioning what is real and what isn't. Are the experiences that I'm happening for a reason, and why are they happening? I had questions about my own spiritual journey and what else I needed to learn. Once my perception had been altered due to my own spiritual awakening, I began to see things that seemed to represent illusions that were masqueraded into my reality. I was able to see clearer, understand how the world was working, and how I functioned within this reality. I found myself going down a rabbit hole that needed to be travelled through so I could fully understand and get answers to the many questions I had. Going down rabbit holes is a common occurrence on a spiritual journey, as this helps us to obtain knowledge on the things that will encourage our spiritual growth. During a spiritual awakening, you may discover certain gifts you were unaware of. Such gifts include clairvoyance, clairaudience, energy sensitivity, and to be able to pick up energetic changes in the atmosphere, great foresight, and great divination skills. Whatever gift you discover you have, it is imperative to embrace your gift and nurture it, as this gift will serve you well and lead to unlocking more of your potential. These gifts that are unlocked can be used as tools to further advance your spiritual growth and ultimately your evolution as a human being. How do I proceed in everyday life after a spiritual awakening? Day-to-day living will still continue as normal as you undertake your daily routine regardless of what it is. There is a difference, however. Each new day that arrives will be different in some way. These changes can be very subtle at first. From my personal experience, I began to see the things that were hidden. For example, when I would wake up each morning, each new day seemed to be more brighter than I had previously experienced. Even on rainy days, like the contrast and sharpness of my perception had been adjusted. Even the sounds of the birds singing in the morning brought joy. A sense of gratitude was beginning to manifest, and this feeling was indescribable. This sense of gratitude raised my spirits, which is known as raising your vibration. Other things occurred, like being able to keep calm during the times of chaos and have clarity of mind when trying to obtain a solution for a problem. These were some of the positive things that I experienced. The darker side of a spiritual awakening. As with many things in nature, there's always an opposite. I also experienced the darker side of a spiritual awakening. At the time of my first spiritual awakening, it was a year or so before the turn of the millennium. Prior to the year 2000, things seemed to be pretty much relaxed in my perception of the world, and in general, most people were happy. As soon as the year 2000 was here, that is when I noticed a massive shift in energy. A veil of darkness had begun to shroud the earth. My perception had changed, and I began to see the dark energy upon people, and the brightness that I first perceived had been replaced by this darkness. Shadows became more dense at night. The air was filled with hostile and malevolent energy. I noticed that the attitudes of people that I knew at the time had changed, as well as people in general. The relaxed, fun attitude and people enjoying life suddenly changed. It had been replaced by seriousness, hostility, malevolence and death. Perceiving this was a shock to my system, as I had only just awoke spiritually and I was still getting my bearings. This new perception did disorientate me at first until I could adapt to this new energetic shift. When I adapted to this new energetic shift that was brought about by the turn of the new millennium, I knew I had to find ways to be able to maintain a balance. I plunged myself deep into my martial arts journey. It was upon my martial arts journey that I began to understand the symbol of yin and yang and what was needed to become balanced. Energetic shifts, downloads and upgrades. The great thing about having a spiritual awakening or spiritual awakenings is that your being has been conditioned to be able to detect energetic shifts, receive downloads and upgrades. These three are the components that allow us to experience spiritual growth. Energetic shifts. Energetic shifts are changes in the energetic field upon the earth as well as in the cosmos. Energetic shifts can cause shifts in the electromagnetic field of the earth also. And since we emit electricity by the electrical impulses from our synapses in our central nervous system, it can affect us this way. An energetic shift can alter in many ways. Being energy sensitive can allow you to detect how the energy feels through the physical synchronicities that can be seen in our reality and felt by us physically. This can also alter our mental and emotional states. Energetic shifts will have their own energy signature. An energy signature is the identity of energy of what characteristics it may carry with it. Energy can also carry smells, fragrances and odours. Downloads. Another advantage of having a spiritual awakening is that you're able to receive downloads. You can view downloads in the same way you would download files, music or movies onto a PC, laptop, phone or tablet. The difference is the medium of where these downloads are being downloaded to, which is you. A download comes in the form of knowledge, intelligence and wisdom. Downloads can come from different places depending how you are walking your spiritual path. The types of downloads depends on what is needed for your own spiritual growth. Downloads bring with them many synchronicities that can affect a person physically, mentally, emotionally and spiritually. The intensity of the downloads can vary also, which again is based on how you are walking your spiritual path. Upgrades. Upgrades are the results from the manifestations of downloads that will alter your being in one way or another. Depending upon the type of download, the upgrade will benefit you in some way. Upgrades can include increased spiritual awareness, increase of energy flow and the abundance of energy, more clarity of mind, increased energy sensitivity, third eye activity and the synchronization with your intuition, clairvoyance and clairaudience becoming more acute, divination and psychic mediumship development. The upgrades I have mentioned are some of the ones that I have experienced. The list of upgrades is many, and again these upgrades can vary or be completely different, all depending on what your spiritual path entails or what you need. Upgrades allow you to be receptive to further learning and spiritual growth. Some very deep and profound spiritual growth may require you to obtain certain downloads, so you can be upgraded so you can fully understand and understand what is needed for a particular upgrade. I've outlined some of the amazing things that can manifest as a result of a spiritual awakening. Spiritual growth and evolution is the ultimate goal, and a spiritual awakening can open many doors to an amazing hidden world that has many gifts. If you are going through a spiritual awakening, embrace it and venture forth, as it will change your life. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to watch my video. I hope this has helped to give you some clarity and value. I look forward to seeing you on my next video, so until then, keep pushing forward and keep your affirmations strong. Peace.